WROK.
Good morning, everybody. Dave Schmidt along with Matt Nestor, producer Tom Warner. We're having a great time this morning talking high school basketball with, I'm going to keep calling him legendary Coach Steve Goers, man. This guy's record is amazing.
What he is.
Yeah, 881 wins over his career, and that's a great thing. And we're just glad we're having him the whole hour.
Yeah.
And I've already had a lot of fun already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, actually, I want to pick up. I think you were telling a good story there while we were kind of talking during the break there. Just about how you go to these different places, and it was always a building situation. Kind of talk some about that, about, how you get to these different spots and kind of what you had to do coming into programs.
Well, like I was saying, Cheryl Hanks showed me certain different elements of building a program, and things that are most obvious are the summer camps, the open gyms, the contact with the students and their parents. Probably the things that aren't as observable from the public's eye is you have to have great relationships with your administration, your secretaries, your fellow staff members, and your custodians.
If they don't pump that coal in, Coach.
Yeah, not necessarily in that order. But seriously, we made a point to make sure that we were in conjunction and harmony with the philosophy of the school as much as we possibly could. I mean, I always felt that our success at Boylan was because we had a great administration, and they supported us. There's two major reasons for success at Boylan, because naturally basketball wasn't the only sport that's been successful at Boylan. The team sport's been successful at Boylan because of the support of administration and the school and the teachers, but also because we're dealing with student athletes that 93-94% of the students that graduate from Boylan graduate from college. Okay, they go on. They just don't go, but 93-94% of the ones that go to college do graduate. So we have people that have some academic discipline that are coming down, for the most part,
right?
That come down to practice, and it's easy to coach young men that have some type of discipline. Now, naturally, there's exceptions, but for the most part, that helps in success when you have people that are dedicated and disciplined.
And you touched on something too, and I imagine especially at Boylan, but really at all schools, you mentioned that relationship with the parents. I got to imagine that that's somewhat key, because parents can be a little different sometimes and whatnot, but really trying to keep that family mentality around the program.
Matt, parents are becoming more and more difficult as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all parents are this way, but when I went to school, whether a teacher says, whether a coach says, that's it. And if my dad, after working 12 hours a day at his business, he was building in the early 50s, and when I was in grade school, and if he came home and he got a call from the teacher,
right.
I was in my room for a while, to say the least. But today, it's not the same type of atmosphere. It's a situation. What can you do for my child? And my child. Instead of, Coach, we really appreciate what you're doing for the team. It's in what you're trying to build here. And I think the major thing in education and athletics is the idea of responsibility. That if you go into a classroom, you're responsible to turn your assignments in on time. You're responsible to study for your test. You're responsible for integrity and honesty within the classroom. When you get down to practice, you're responsible to perform with your teammates in harmony with what the coach has set as a goal for his particular team. We're not going to have a team that's geared around the desires of one particular person. Now, there are teams that you need certain players that play different roles. Certain players are scorers, certain players are rebounders, certain players are great defenders, etc. But at the same time, the coach is the captain of that particular ship of his team, and he needs to direct the team in a way that he feels it'll be successful for the whole, not for one.
You know, things have really changed a lot. You're talking about that, but nowadays we have signings. They go on national TV. LeBron James, they did all his games in high school. We've really turned him into a media circus almost for high school sports, and that's kind of hurt too, don't you think, a little bit, Coach?
Well, I think this area of communication is just unbelievable. You know, and it's great technology, but at the same time, it's very scary, and it can be used naturally the wrong way, as we certainly have seen. I think the biggest problem we have today is the entitlement. This is the era of entitlement. Everybody's entitled to this, and everybody's entitled to that. We always wanted better for our child than we had it when we were growing up. And then AAU steps in, and AAU is a very, extremely dangerous situation because of the coach there is just interested in putting a product on the court. Generally speaking, where he's not dealing with the student athlete. He's just dealing with the athlete. He's not having grade checks every week. He's not having study halls. He's not doing the things on and off the court that we do as a high school coach. And so he's just, and what he does is that he's got of course so many AAU kids, but he's always out there looking for the next great player. And he has no boundaries at all or no limitations whether the child is doing academically well or whether he's 100 miles away, whatever. He is just, looking for that best player to replace the player that he's already told that parent is going to be
the great player.
Yeah. So it is a very, very different.
We're talking with legendary coach Stve Goers from Boylan.
Say, how tough is it to coach in that kind of environment? I mean, there's really been a boom in that probably in the last 15 years, more so than before. Not that it wasn't there before, but really a big boom. And you were there, part of it still at Boylan. How tough is it to coach in that environment, where these kids now have so many different people? It's not that they just have one person, but so many different people in their ears. We see the kids transferring all the time. Even in high school now, you see all the transfers. Just how tough was it in that environment?
Man, it's very tough because of the end of it. Because to play AAU anything, baseball, soccer, volleyball, it's very expensive.
Right.
They have to pay. So that's almost a situation where the haves will have it in some of the, unless you're super, then they just
they figure out a way.
But they're demanding a lot more of your time, and I was pretty stringent on it. We had a few players that ended up playing at the tournaments at the end of July out in Las Vegas. We had a few of those players do that. Joe Tully, I think, was the first one, and then he went down to Georgia and then went out. I don't know if he went. I may have just played one, and the reason I did that is because of the fact I got him into a national exposure deal by letting him play in a tournament down in Indy. Yeah, he was in a national exposure in Indy, and that's how he got recruited I went down there with him, and when we talked to the DePaul people, and it was between DePaul and Purdue with Joe. And I think that if you're a hands-on coach and you're really working with your players and your parents, because like every year, I did this every year since I went to Oswego, really. I didn't do it at Bardolph. We only had a handful of kids, but every year that I was head coach, we had parent meetings. When I was here in Rockford, since we're spread out within the county here, basically we did it in our home. So I had all potential varsity players and their parents, at least one, come to our home for an hour meeting. And we talk about their academics, we talk about their social behaviors, how we felt, how they're doing. As far as that goes, we talk about their future, where they want to go to college, and the realization of it's not that far away, and we should do some playing and visit parents to schools of your choice. And then we talked about basketball. So there's three different things we talked about before we even got to basketball. We used to say God, family. We used to say God, family, education, then basketball.
Right.
Yeah. And we're going to have to take a hard break here in a little bit, but I don't know about you, Matt, but this is like getting rocked to bed at night with a good story.
Exactly.
And so, Coach, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about your coaching career at Boylan and all those good things. Are you having any fun? We got you up early in the morning. Are you having any fun at all right now?
This is great.
This is good. I'm having more fun than you understand, Coach. You're making my day. We are going to take a time out, a news break, and we'll be back. Steve Goers, legendary coach from Boylan, is going to be with us for the rest of the show. So stay tuned for that right here on the State Line Sports Hour on News Talk 1440 WROK.